It was almost as though there was a boogeyman out there.
We were facing a lot more enemy than we had the capability to deal with.
They dug trenches, they fortified houses. They were ready.
We wanted to go. We were just waiting on the edge of a knife. When are we gonna get to go?
The order is seize the city.
RPGs, small arms fire from everywhere.
Come on. I told him that I wanted to go, and he looked at me and said, "Sergeant, you're gonna die."
The destruction is just horrible.
The hardest thing about fighting this enemy is they're not afraid to die. If they're not afraid to die, then how do you fight them?
Ramp's going down!
Be prepared to start at one end of the city and fight your way through to the other end.
There's firing going on. There are grenades being thrown in the house.
It became hand-to-hand fighting. It was so close.
Two selfless Marines run across this kill zone 4 times to pull Marines out of there.
I wasn't worried about, getting shot or getting wounded. I was worried about the guys to my left and right.
You always want to reassure these men that they've done their duty, because that memory is seared into their soul. They never forget it. None of us do.
Foreign policy, I don't make it. I just deliver the last 600 meters of it.
Okay, let us get to our good friend here, Mr. Pack. Mr. Pack, we ran your trailer. Tell us about what you think is going on right now, sir, in Venezuela.
Well, I hope Venezuela doesn't turn into a situation like those ones in my film, Iraq or Afghanistan. I mean, we made this film in part to make clear to people what these kind of wars are like and to be careful to get into them. And I think Donald Trump is very careful not to want to have what he calls another forever war. But you do get sucked into them, and our film tries to explain what that's like. It's about Najaf and Fallujah, the biggest battles of the Iraq War, the biggest battles in Vietnam, and they depict urban combat, counterinsurgency, and how hard it is for the troops on the ground. And the film tells the story from the point of view of the troops on the ground. The film is available on Amazon, just starting yesterday, last 600 meters. But we have to be careful not to get sucked into it. I mean, I totally agree with all the objectives in Venezuela, and Mexico is another one. I mean, I think the fentanyl coming into this country is a disgrace. The government of Venezuela, a horrible government. What should we do? That's one question, but the thing to avoid is what happened to us in Iraq. And you can see it in the film and appreciate what it takes to fight these wars. And our goal is to not make sure that we don't do it again. And if we do, to understand what those wars are like. And you can see it in Gaza, you can see it in Ukraine, as well as possibly Venezuela.
Nobody wants to get another one of these forever wars. I think many of us all of us, but many on the MAGA side are done with this regime change, John Bolton, all this stuff. Not interested, right? Never worked anywhere. And your film depicts the horrors of this and the risk it for us, right?
Exactly. It depicts what happens, and it depicts what happens with this sort of political changes. The film tells the story only from the point of view of the people in the battles, from corporals and sergeants up to generals. And we don't talk about the politics or why we fought that war, but you can see the impact of political shifts in Washington on the ground. For instance, first they have to go into Fallujah, and then owing to world opinion, they go out of Fallujah, and then it turns into a hellhole, and they got to go in again, but they got to get everybody to leave. So you can see the frustration these are mainly Marine battles on the Marines on the ground in Fallujah, and similarly in Najaf, which was in the south against Shiite insurgents, in the north it was against Sunnis. First, they go in, they get the insurgents into the mosque, and then another Shia leader comes and the insurgents escape again. So it looks at the challenge, what happens with these changing political winds as world pressure forces the government to do one thing or another, and why what those wars are like, and that could happen. I think you're right, John. Venezuela, we should avoid it. We should be careful to avoid it there. And it looks like we're heading to some kind of military conflict. I mean, the aircraft carrier is heading down there, et cetera.
Listen, I'm all in favor of blowing up the boats so the fentanyl and the other drugs don't come in. I'm all in favor of getting rid of the cartels that are coming out of Venezuela. I'm all in favor of that. What I'm not in favor of is an invasion to instill regime change. That's Venezuela's problem. As long as it's contained and we're not getting those drugs here and we can keep blowing them out of the water. I mean, eventually, your life is going to be worth more than trying to make money. So eventually these things are going to stop. Maybe they'll try a submarine. We'll blow that up. Eventually this thing is going to get down to ground zero. Just like when we stopped people from crossing the border, the incentive went down. You couldn't get in. You were going to be risking your life to get here and then turn back and thrown back over the other side. That's why the caravan stopped, right? When was the last time we had somebody down there talking about a caravan coming? They're gone because
Exactly.
the incentive is gone, because you pay money and then you get tossed back. So why would you do it? So you got the same thing here, but this idea that we're going to go in and, Maduro was, he stole the election. Hey, not my problem. Let the Venezuelan people figure that out. Kill the drug dealers, but regime change? Michael Pack, you got to be kidding me.
You end up getting sort of sucked into this. I too am all in favor of stopping fentanyl coming in across the border, but boats are not the only way they come across. And Donald Trump has mentioned that you can't do it only with boats. So once you're sort of fighting on the land, then you're in trouble. I mean, let's not forget that Afghanistan and Iraq did not begin as regime change. These things can creep up on you, mission creep. And it could look, Donald Trump, very sensitive to this. As you know, I was in the first Trump administration. I was in charge of international broadcasting. I'm a supporter of President Trump's, but it's seductive, and it's something to really watch out for. And I think Venezuela is a good one to be watching in that area.
And you nailed it, Michael Pack with us, by the way. His new documentary out, the last 600 meters, must watch because it's really going to change your position on these regime changes. Remember, the first war in Iraq was not about regime change. It was about freeing Kuwait, right?
Right, sure.
And if you really read the history, that was the core of that was our ambassador to Iraq, April Gillespie, didn't tell Saddam Hussein in no uncertain terms, if you go into Kuwait, we're basically going to destroy your country. Well, she didn't tell him that. And her position was, well, that's a state, that's kind of an Iraqi thing. We're not involved. So that's why he went in. But there was no regime change. Second one was all about regime change. Let freedom ring, all that nonsense. It was all lie, right? Lie. It's all lies. Now they're going to be lying us about Maduro, lie this, lie that, to suck us into that. And somebody's going to make money off it. Big money to be made in a war.
I think a lot of these things. We're also working on a new documentary. We're doing some short documentaries with the Wall Street Journal opinion section, and one of them is about the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And I think you can see the State Department has been, is vague about these things, to put it nicely, and it creates sort of a mess. It's a very challenging department to run. As I say, I was in the foreign policy world of the first Trump administration. And the administrative state in these places has its own ideas, and it's very hard to change it. And the withdrawal from Afghanistan, the State Department was wanted to believe that they would be able to keep the embassy forever, and that there was no reason to hold on to Bagram Air Force Base. And they had conflicting messages about who should be let out. And it's very hard for the president to get a clear message out through the State Department. I think your example.
We got to go. Watch
okay.
the film, The Last 600 Meters, The Last 600 Meters. Peach Crew next. Stay with us.